You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Critical.
One of the things that drives me nuts as an atheist is that my polling location is at a church. And I don't necessarily have a problem. I'm not going to burst into flames walking into a church.
Now, after being on this show and having heard your viewpoints on some things, my advice to you is don't test this. I won't burst into flames.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
I don't know if you've ever seen a lightning bug, but he flies around with a flame of light coming out of his behind. The lightning bug got a flame coming out of his butt.
It's a beautiful night tonight. All the sodomites are out.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sarah Talk. I've missed you so much. I've missed you all. Suck it in.
Oh my God, you're a mess.
I feel like it's been, 525,600 minutes since we did this last.
I knew she was going to do it.
So hey, welcome to Sarah Talk. I have, as always, the lovely Becca.
Which I heard I'm going to carry the show because you're still writing it.
Right. And I haven't done any work yet. And Lauren Fant is joining us this week.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, yes, we were on vacation for a week. And because of that, if you don't know what it takes to do this thing, I spend a week culling news stories and scripting out some of the things that I'm going to say about them. And I didn't have the week to do that because we were on the beach.
Which wasn't that so much better?
Oh God, yeah.
I know.
Great.
Seriously.
I need a showrunner.
I pity
Who's going to
you.
write my show for me?
I don't know.
We need a writer's room. Can we do that?
Hey, my friend Laura is in the chat.
Laura!
I just want to give her a shout out because we were actually just talking about you. Lauren was admiring your coasters that I got from you. So we're going to give you a free plug. Check Laura out.
They're awesome.
Her stuff is amazing. It's Trey Geek. Find her Facebook. Hit her up. Give her some love.
It's the first thing I notice when I walk in here. I love Star Wars. There it is.
There you go. Okay, so before we get into the stuff that I don't have prepared for the show.
I tried.
Oh,
I
Lord.
tried. I talked about coasters for 3 seconds.
You did. That wasn't long enough. Okay. So June 16th, that's next week. We will be at Munn Park in Lakeland, Florida for Polk Pride. Excited about that. Come on out and see us at Polk Pride. Then June 22nd through the 24th is Pride 48 streaming weekend. And our time slot is Saturday, June 23rd at our normal time at 8 o'clock.
That's
Just
amazing.
It's
It couldn't have been
perfect,
better.
right? It's like
they
took
love
care
you.
of us or something, yeah. But I have this huge announcement about that show on the Pride 48 network.
Are you going to do it now, or are you going to leave us hanging?
No, I'll do it now. So we're going to have a special guest for that show, Tim Reimel, and he was actually referred to us by one of our listeners, so appreciate that. He was an evangelical minister for 25 years, but struggled with his sexual orientation, and so he entered himself into Love in Action, which is the world's oldest and most well-known gay conversion therapy program, and was actually a leader there for 6 years. So, holy shit, what's that like, right?
Yeah.
So, he was convincing others they could become ex-gay through Jesus. Yay!
Wow.
Except that's not how it works.
No.
It doesn't.
In 2014, he wrote the book Going Gay, and he's releasing a new book later this year called Rethinking Everything When Faith and Reality Don't Make Sense. And he's done some serious study of Judaism, Christianity. His mission now is to open dialogue about beliefs and ideologies that affect our lives and shine a light on the questions people have as they go through their own journeys of faith and life. And I can't wait for this. This is going to be such a great conversation.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
What an interesting life experience to have gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's Pride 48, Saturday, June 23rd at 8 p.m. So now I have books to read. I will prepare. I swear to God, I'll prepare for that one.
You won't have any excuses.
No.
Yeah.
No. So let's talk about our vacation. Oh, God, we had such a great time.
I planned the best vacations. Of course, last year was better because we went to Colorado and got high.
On the mountain.
This year we couldn't really do that, but we stayed kind of close to home. We just went over to the beach on the west coast of Florida. Got a hotel room right on the beach.
Oh, so nice.
It was so nice.
The kids were great.
The kids were awesome. It was our little one's first time in the ocean.
Yes, that's right.
And she was just in love. Booked a pirate cruise because our son loves pirates. So we thought that would be fun. And of course, he loved it up until he had to play musical chairs.
Oh God, yeah.
And he
now listen, I have always hated that game.
What's wrong with musical chairs?
It's terrible.
It's violent and rude.
Exactly.
I was really proud of him though, because he was one of the last 3, and then he got booted out right at the very end. I've never made it that far in that game, and he was so mad. He was like, "That other kid," and he like the rest of vacation. Anytime
that's all he would talk about.
You talked about the pirate cruise. That was, and so I kind of felt bad. But you know, hey, that's part of being a kid. But he had a good time, other than the pirate cruise, musical chairs debacle.
Yeah, that was bad. Dan is preparing for the Sarah Talk drinking game. Anytime the Star Trek coaster lights up, you're welcome, Dan.
I'm trying to let me see if I can put mine right at the edge of the table.
It.
No, it's
blocking
not
it,
you.
sorry.
It's the sign, Sarah. That
What?
sign needs to come back a little bit
fine.
this way. It's
fine.
blocking my
It's
my
fine.
drink. Okay,
It's fine.
can you see it, Dan?
It looks neon.
You can see a light glow.
The light shining through. That looks
People,
really cool.
it's been 6 weeks since I've had a Mountain Dew. Today's the day, babe. Yeah, just saying.
You deserve it.
Alien drink.
Alien drink. It does kind of look like an alien.
It does.
Star Trek
it's
drink.
amazing. There you go. Extra drink for you people.
Okay, so here's what I did. What I normally do is I stack up a bunch of news stories to talk about, and then I research them fairly thoroughly, and then we talk about them. This week, I have pulled together some news stories. I don't know much about any of them, and so we'll talk about them anyway.
It's kamikaze Sarah Talk.
Winging it. That's my style anyways.
Right?
Don't tell anybody.
But before we get into that, we went to see Rent today, with many thanks to Lauren for getting our tickets, taking care of our children.
She's been magical. What can I say?
Yes.
What did you guys think about it? I know,
so
Becca,
good.
it was your first time seeing it
Yeah.
live, right?
Yeah.
First time live. I had seen the movie. I listened to the Star Trek.
Oh my God.
Star Trek.
The soundtrack.
I
okay.
haven't had anything. This is like the first
Mountain Dew's
caffeine I've
messing with
had,
your
and it's like, woo. Listen to the soundtrack, watch the movie. You know, never seen it on stage, so I was like, whoa, this is like a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Almost different, like same story, but I don't know. It's just really,
It's so different on stage.
it's so different.
It is.
And yeah, it was very good.
That was my second time. So the first time, and this, I'll tell this story because it's Pride Month, and this musical has an important story in my journey. I went to see Rent in Chicago. God, it was over 10 years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long time ago. And Sarah had never really gotten out of the closet at that point. Like that was back when I still probably identified as a crossdresser. Didn't really know what it was. I just knew that it felt good. And so we drove 3.5 fucking hours to Chicago from Cornfield, Illinois.
Cornfield.
And yeah, so that was Sarah's first like major getting out and into the world, and it was great. And I posted something earlier on Facebook and tagged my friend Krista, who her and her husband were like they went with us, very supportive. And she told me I didn't look like trash. So in my mind, I was probably rough.
Although I will tell you, we both looked like a wreck crying in the middle of the theater today.
Listen,
I feel like if you don't look like a wreck crying during Rent, then there's something wrong with you.
here, yes.
I'm seeing it tomorrow. I told you guys. It will be my either 7th or 8th time seeing it live. And it's a special show for me too, because it was a show that my mom and I saw together. So this is too deep, but that's okay. No, but during her funeral, we actually, Seasons of Love was the song that we chose to play with her photo slideshow. And it was one of those things that, like, you know, my mom, she was very religious and very proud to be so, but she always preached love. She didn't preach scripture necessarily.
Right.
It was love is what she tried to spread. So that's why I really liked Rent, and why my mom really liked Rent, and why it ended up being a special bonding moment for us, because it was something that we really shared. So,
awesome.
I'm looking forward to not wearing any makeup tomorrow, because otherwise it'll be everywhere.
and listen, I have seen the movie a gazillion times,
Of course.
but I'm telling you, a million times in a row, I can watch Angel float off in that white gown and sob my fucking head off every single time.
Yeah.
I know it's coming every single time. I know
You
what
should.
I'm
I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to hold it together, and all of a sudden I hear.
and I'm like,
I'm like, God damn it! I was holding it together. Now you're just gonna kill my.
Oh, spoiler alert! Angel dies.
Sorry. Oops.
What? I know. I'm usually the one who's sitting there going,
Yep.
with trying not to loudly sob, but no,
Yes.
it's great. It's at the Dr. Phillips Center, guys. So if you
Yes,
haven't
it's
seen
great.
it, tomorrow is your chance. Although it might be sold
Probably
out, so
sold
people
out.
are probably mad at me now.
Dan
Sorry.
wants to know what you're wearing, Sarah.
I'm wearing a lovely outfit. I'm wearing an outfit.
He can't see it because of the Sarah Talk bug.
Oh, hang on. I have a thing to do too. I forgot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all,
Just a skirt.
Woo!
but also.
Uh-oh. What are you doing? It's coming down.
Wow.
Just for you, Dan.
I haven't even seen your hair this long. Wow.
I'll even do this. I guess.
Oh, my gosh. I bought her a cape.
Yes.
Okay. Is that better? Can we?
Yeah.
Happy Pride, everybody! Watching myself in
Oh my gosh.
7-second delay on
Yeah,
the thing
it's
is
really
awful.
weird.
God, my hair is still wet from earlier too.
You took a shower at like 11 o'clock, didn't you?
But I've had my hair up this whole time. Okay. This
I thought you were going to say it was wet because you like mopped your tears with it.
That's true.
it's almost that long. This may not last. It's hot as hell in here. Okay, so while we're on the topic of being queer in the Orlando area, there's a news story out this week that the Pulse survivors, a couple of them, are suing the Pulse nightclub owners, among others, claiming negligence, that they didn't have enough bouncers or security on the night of the shooting. I feel a lot of ways about this. And I get, I get that you're trying to find some closure, that you're scrapping for things to make you feel a little bit better about. I get it. Like, I get it. But if you look at every situation that happens, there's all kinds of things. We could have done this. Oh, we could have done that. And so if what we could have done better that night was had, 10 times more security and, Orange County deputies on scene at every entrance point and one in each room. And I mean, how crazy do you want to get here?
Right.
And then are you going to do that every night? And who's going to pay for it? Okay, no, obviously we can't do that every night. And so bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you plan for the worst of the bad things every single night, I think that's a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, when I saw the story, I think it came out yesterday on CNN, I believe, June 8th, yesterday. Yeah. I kind of refrained from commenting on it because I wanted to see, how were my friends who were in the LGBT community, how were they going to react? Because I didn't feel like it was my place to react to it because I am not a member of that community. So I was just really interested to see, would everybody be in agreement that this was necessary, or would they take the stance that you said? And actually, almost every single one of my friends who has posted about it has said exactly what you said, that they understand the need to find closure. They understand that policies probably do need to change, and the way we approach nightclub security needs to change. Of course it does.
Yep.
But I did also read that, in the last 2 years, Orange County has the sheriff's office or police department, whatever they're called, they have gone through a lot of procedural changes, which a lot of people have said have been very positive. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in that weird middle spot too, that you said, I understand it from one perspective, but then from another perspective, it just kind of seems like, I don't know. I don't want to say a cash grab, but that's kind of what at least for the part of that attorney.
Right.
It seems like somebody who's trying to make a buck off the suffering of others, which is really sad to me.
Yeah, that's for me. It was it feels like maybe it's just looking for somebody to blame, somebody to make responsible for the pain. This guy basically got away with it because he's dead now. You know, he's not paying for his crimes. And so somebody has to. Like, I can understand the need to seek that retribution, but I just...
Right.
This is not... Doesn't make sense to me.
Victoria says, no, we can't do that every time, but shouldn't we at least try? Yeah, and I think this is where we're all going to probably find a meet in the middle. You know, like you said, can it be better? Sure, but how far does that go? And if we go to the extreme, is that I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's something that you can keep up. I don't think.
Well, and I kind of relate to it as a teacher because this has been a discussion we've had ever involving school districts recently. And a lot of people have said to me, you know, well, don't you want to arm yourself at school? Well, don't you want to have teachers who have guns? Well, don't you want to have all these extra police? And I mean, the part of me that fears for my life at my job says yes, but then the part of me that knows that I teach at a public high school and not a prison is like, absolutely not. Like, I should be able just to walk into work and feel safe. And that's how I feel about, you know, the nightclub scene and being an American citizen in general. We should just be able to live and feel safe, and that's not where we're at, which I think is the bigger issue.
And going to a police state, I don't think is a solution to that.
No, not at all.
I think that's too far in another direction.
Right.
So stay on the schools for a minute. You teach in the public school
I do.
system. What let's completely derail into that.
Sure.
What sentiment have you heard from your peers, from your colleagues, parents? What are you hearing?
So I have kind of a unique situation in that I teach the same group of kids every year and I follow them year to year, which is great. Yeah. So I actually have a lot of more in-depth contact, I think, with their parents than a lot of other teachers end up having because, you know, I end up following their kid all through high school. And it's been interesting to talk to not only my coworkers, but also my students themselves about it and parents about it. And I'm in a position where I teach a college prep class, so we get to have a lot of discussion like we're doing right now. And I give my kids the opportunity just to discuss topics. And so I gave them that question one day. I was like, you know, what do you think is the solution? And some of the questions, of course, that they were talking about were like, you know, do you want your teachers to have guns? And one of them said, like, Miss Fant, as much as we love you and as much as we know you care about us, we don't feel comfortable with knowing our teachers are armed because you're not a cop. You're not, you know, a trained military officer. You're a teacher. You're here to mentor us. And it really struck a chord with me because my personal opinion is no, I don't want to carry a gun at school.
Right.
I've heard some teachers say they do. And then I have friends and coworkers who say absolutely not. But to hear students say that would not make me feel safer, I think they're the ones that we need to be listening to. And that's why I try to pay attention to, of course, what the students from Parkland have been saying, because their voices have echoed a lot of what my students have said. Like, they want the culture of violence to change. They don't want us to just put a Band-Aid on it by saying, here, give every teacher a Glock and a clip and good luck. You know, defend your classroom. It shouldn't get to that point. We should never have that situation occur. But I don't know. It's really tricky because, like I said, there is a part of me that does, you know, I know they say anything can happen anywhere, but because it keeps happening at schools, it's been really tricky lately because I've had in the back of my mind, like, what more could I do to protect myself? And then it makes me sad because it's like, that's not what I signed up for. Like, I signed up to be, like I said, a mentor to kids. I signed up to help these kids, not to be a police officer. There's people who sign up to be a police officer. That's not what I signed up for.
Well, here in Polk County, I'm sure you know, we decided that we just have some people sign up and teach them how to...
She says we. She's not talking about us.
Sorry.
And I don't teach in Polk County.
Our wonderful sheriff Grady Judd. Then isn't that just the best hill folk name you could come up with for a Sheriff Grady Judd? So rather than like actual police officers who are trained and go through like, I don't know, recurring training, go through active shooter trainings, and we'll just, here you go. You can spend a few hundred hours, or I don't remember. Do you remember 130 hours, something like that?
Well,
training with a weapon, and then you can go protect your kids. Thanks.
Oh, almost like deputizing private citizens.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah.
Oof.
can I tell you how I feel about that?
Please.
Okay, so we worked for Disney, and you go through your training, and you spend a week. Okay, so my first job at Disney was to run an attraction, and they teach you in a week how to turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. You have an emergency shutdown, and you got to do all these things. Okay, so they teach you one time, basically, and then the first time something bad happens, and you have to hit that emergency stop.
Right.
And then you have to know how to turn the ride back on. And I'll tell you, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times after it happened, I still didn't know how to do it.
Yep.
So you can't tell me that you can send somebody through 130 hours of training a weapon and then never have them train it again. And then a year down the line, something happens and they need that training and they can't remember how to.
Okay. So I did want to talk a little bit too about the way the police are being perceived by a segment of our community. And that's a good segue, right? Because here you had a guy at the school who was trained, who knew what to do, and he is being crucified for not running into a hailstorm of bullets to save a bunch of children. Now, listen, I didn't sign up to be a police officer either, but even if I had, I can't promise you that that's in a moment decision that let me run right in there. I can't tell you that I would make that decision.
Yeah, and I'll admit that I was EF'd when that first happened. My gut instinct as a teacher was to be very critical of that police officer and say, well, how dare he? But it kind of goes in hand with what we were talking about with Pulse, with those police officers. Like, we all would like to say what we would do at any given time.
Yeah, but until it happens.
Yeah, and I even, as a teacher, have tried to think, okay, well, if somebody's knocking down my door, this is what I'm going to do, step A, B, C, D. But at the end of the day, there's no way for any of us to know how we would react until something like that happens.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to ask questions and direct questions and see if protocol was followed and things like that. But to try to, destroy someone's life basically because of the way that you think they did or didn't act or whatever is
I've read an interview
unfair.
with him this past week where and they were very critical of him, saying like, oh, he's just trying to save face and paint this glossy picture of what happened, but where he described like, this is what I was doing. I was going through, like, nobody knew where these gunshots were at the time. That some people like weren't even sure that it was gunfire. They thought it was fireworks for a moment, like firecrackers. And then the other police department shows up and they're on different fucking channels, so they can't talk to each other. And so Department B has figured out what's going on. And meanwhile, this SRO is still trying to figure out what the fuck's happening. And here we are in the, in the back seat crucifying this guy for, you weren't there.
Right.
You weren't there.
No, and the fact that they're on different channels and the communication is completely lapsed, that's what we should be asking questions about, because I think that's definitely worth
There's a thing we
saying
can fix.
That's a massive failure. Like, and I think with Pulse, that was a massive failure because you had different agencies coordinating. And so, yes, please, by all means, question those things. But I get really, when we start targeting individuals and telling them how unsuccessful they are, failures at life because of their human emotional response or lack thereof, I don't know, it's just disappointing.
So we have a moment in time here where if you're a police officer right now, you're either being like given a pass for every interaction you've ever had with a black person, right? Oh, that they had it coming. They were doing stuff. You just laid all the shit that we've heard all through civil rights, right? If you just follow the officer's instructions, you wouldn't have got shot. Well, then the fucking camera footage comes up, and it's like, well, nope, that didn't happen. And I have people in my sphere who have actually said, yeah, but you didn't see what happened on the camera before they turned it on, before they walked up, before they started filming with their cell phone. You didn't see what happened before that. Okay, but I saw what happened after that and didn't warrant shooting a black guy who was unarmed laying on the ground. Didn't warrant that.
Right.
That's some bullshit. right? So you have these people who are, police can do no fucking wrong until they don't run into a school to save your child.
Right.
Now all police need, come on. It's a bad time to be a police officer right now. That's all.
Well, and to me, it's really, I mean, this may be the way I perceive it, but I also see that as the inherently racist aspect of our society, and that we refuse to be outraged at police brutality when it involves minorities, but then the minute children are being shot, we're outraged. We should be outraged at children being shot, but we should be outraged at all things that are happening. And that's definitely something I've had to discuss with people who have, commented to me like, oh my gosh, because I'm a teacher. Oh my gosh, they need to be doing this to help keep you safe, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, great. But what about all, the black teenagers who have been gunned down in the street, or like that story that was out a day or two ago? He wasn't killed, but that kid that they were approaching in like an apartment staircase. Did you see that?
Where
the was running and he was just standing there, and all of a sudden they start beating the shit out of him.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, where's your outrage and stuff like that?
I did
you did
see
that.
It.
Yeah, it was all over Facebook.
Yes, I did see that.
So the selective outrage is definitely apparent now because of these situations kind of happening one after the other.
I saw a really great meme too that kind of really highlighted the racial feel of the nation right now, which was like, we have spent decades locking up young black men for selling weed, and we're about to open the floodgates for rich white men to sell weed. And that's, if anybody should get, let's make some special dispensation for some business startups, it should be the young black guys who have been targeted by police for selling some weed. Nonviolent criminals are locked up in these prisons for what? And then we're gonna make it legal, and who's gonna profit from that? The old white guys.
Dan says the story Lauren just told actually happened in his city.
Shit.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
Dan, you got a lot going on over there.
Joe Arpaio, whatever the hell that guy's name
what
is.
A piece of shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of pieces of shit.
Oh, my friend Carlos is watching. Hi, Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
We weren't talking about you, Carlos.
Carlos is not the piece of shit, no.
So other things that happened while we were away on vacation. The Supreme Court weighed in on the Masterpiece Cake Shop ruling. Did you see this?
I have a hard time believing any of their cakes are masterpieces, but
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Like
they can't even be. They're not even fabulous.
No,
so why would they?
You don't have a single gay person consulting your cakes. They probably look like shit. Let's just be honest.
Right? Just some plain white 3-tier.
There's nothing magical about them.
No.
They're just buttercream and vanilla.
So I'm not going to go back through the history of the case and all of the stuff, because that's been done to death.
That's what the internet's for.
And I didn't have time to do that, but I will refer you to our one of our favorite law shows, Opening Arguments. They did, Andrew and Thomas did a very good breakdown of what this ruling said, what it means, what we can expect, and the way that it is being kind of played out in the national discourse. And then that was continued in a part 2 on Thomas's show, Serious Inquiries Only. So I'll put links to those. If you want like real good in-depth legal analysis, that's the place to go. Now, the kind of the glossed over version is that the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 that the cake in favor of the baker. Now, what you heard, depending on which news sources you're watching, is how this was a huge decision and a huge win for the baker and a huge loss for gay rights and all of this stuff. Okay? But it's a very narrow ruling. And my favorite thing of all was, I think it was Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, like, 7-2, that's hardly what I call narrow, or some dumb shit like that, right? But the way that it's narrow is that they ruled only applicable to this specific case, right? They said, in this case, the Colorado Civil Rights Commission showed hostility towards religion, which it's not supposed to do when it's considering complaints under their equal rights laws. And so because somebody was like, well, you fucking Christians, now you're being hostile towards religion. So, okay. So that was the grabbing at straws that the Supreme Court did. Like, that wasn't even the question that was brought before them, but that's what they latched onto and were like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission was hostile towards religion. And so in saying that, it's a win for this cake shop in this one interaction with this customer, period. Right? But flip on Fox News, scroll around the internet for
Religious
a little while.
freedom prevails
Holy
again.
shit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And that's not at all what it is. What they said was, this is the narrow ruling, and we're not going to comment, they said, on the broader question of, like, when you line up and when you're comparing these two rights, my right to be able to go and conduct business without being discriminated against, and your right to choose who you serve in your business based on your religious beliefs. So when you're putting my civil rights against your religious rights, how do those shake out? And the Supreme Court said, that's not what we're going to do today. The end.
Yeah.
If you've heard anything beyond that,
Right.
it's bluster, because that is not at all what was said. Read the opinions. And it was, by the way, you guys let me the fuck down too. I was trying to get enough people to sign up for my free Ruth Bader Ginsburg action figure to go with my awesome Bernie Sanders action figure, and you didn't get enough signups, so I don't get a free one. I guess it means I have to pay for one. But anyway, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor were the two.
Christmas is coming, babe. It's okay.
Still. Could have been free. Okay.
Well, if everybody would send me $1 instead of sign up, then I can buy her
there you go.
a low-cost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
So we've talked about this, like, more specifically on previous episodes, but I'll have Lauren weigh in. One of the questions that I have often asked myself was, why? As someone who does audio work, right? Or website design, I've done that before in my life. If I am providing a service to the community, but I'm an atheist, right? Do I have the religious right to say, Christian who wants a public service announcement for their Easter service recorded, I'm not going to do that for you because that goes against my religious beliefs. Should I have the right to do that? And I've batted that back and forth a lot, and I've finally come down on what I think my decision is. But anyway, love to hear your opinions on, like, how do you think those two balance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really tough because I was talking to you guys earlier about my college degree is political science, and I focused on American constitutional law. That's what I focused on. And it's hard for me as a public service employee, as a teacher, because I try to imagine myself ever, like, discriminating against one of my students because they were anything. I'm a straight white female, you know what I mean? I have a million things that I could look at my students for, whether it be their race or sexual orientation, gender identity, the religion they practice, any of those things. And sure, discriminate. I disagree, you know what I mean? And I would be fired instantly for that type of thing.
Right.
Because I'm a public service employee. So the government has already said, look, if you work for us, you don't have the right to do so. And yet in the private sector, we've gotten to a point where we are almost encouraging people to use their religious persuasion to push away potential customers, which I guess because I'm not religious, I have a hard time with that, because here I am, I'm a small business owner. I'm not, but I'm hypothetically, I'm a small business owner with a fucking cake shop or whatever it may be. And I'm trying to pay to put food on the table for my family, or, put money into my retirement account, or, just make sure that my electricity bill doesn't get turned off. And I'm so caught up in this entrenched bigotry that I'm going to tell people, no, I don't want your service. I don't want you. I don't want your patronage, I should say, because God said what? He's going to smite you down because you bake a fucking cake for somebody because
Right.
they're marrying another man. Like,
Right.
really? Like, please. And this is a thing that I've always gotten into arguments with people because I was raised in a Christian household.
Me too.
And so I did read the Bible cover to cover before I turned 18. And a lot of it I disagreed with. A lot of the messages within I could agree with. But those pieces that people pull out and use, especially in a time like this, when it comes to homosexuality specifically, I'm just like, where in there does it say that you are breaking one of God's laws by providing a service to someone who has a different sexual orientation than you?
Right.
Where does it say that God is damning you to hell? Where does it say that you are suddenly, to me, it's the opposite, because I thought that a commandment was to love your neighbor. And to me, treating other people with kindness and respect was supposed to be the most important thing that everybody did, supposedly. But that's not what it's turned into. It's turned into, hey, let me use my religion as this barrier where I'm going to separate myself from everybody. So it's really hard for me to say, I don't know, I almost can't even get into the legal aspect of it because I have such a hard time getting into that mindset of I am such a fucking asshole bigot that I'm going to treat people like shit because they're different than me. Because even though I had Christian parents, I was never raised to think that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Never.
Yep.
So the fact that some people grew up like that, and I know that part of that still makes me naive, but the fact that there are people out there who still, you know, they can't get past that no matter how hard you try, it just blows my mind. So I'm all about, you know, you can believe what you want, you can think what you want about people, but at the end of the day, it's bad for business. So what the hell kind of small business owner are you in the first place? That to me would be issue number one, but I don't know. The legalities of it, I have a hard time with it because I have, part of me says we do have freedom of religion and freedom from religion in this country, and the argument has been made, well, they could have taken their business elsewhere, which is absolutely true.
Unless you live in Bumblefuck, Arkansas, and there's one cake shop in a 100-mile radius.
And that's when the, you know, but what if it's the only car dealership in town? Well, what if it's the only air conditioning repairman in town? So it's a very
and also
fine...
the argument of like, well, I'm glad to know that they're a bigot because I don't want my gay dollars going to them. Yeah, okay. Okay, but also you should be able to go to a place and not be treated like a piece of shit.
And just be a customer because you're a human being.
Right.
Yeah. That's what to me is most unfortunate, is that we can't just treat each other like human beings in the situations. Like, you're a cake baker, I'm getting married, bake me a cake, end of story.
Yep.
Feel free to talk about me behind your back all you want, but you couldn't just bake the damn cake.
Obviously, I feel that the religious freedoms in this nation should not be placed above other things.
No.
Obviously, because I am not of a religious persuasion, right? If I were, and this mirrors a lot the way other privileged groups are losing their privileges, and that, you know, last gasps of air in a dying movement that we see happening. In a lot of ways, this is kind of the same thing, right? Christians are losing their privilege. They don't get to, you know, they can't say that black people and white people can't get married anymore. By the way, that was a religious argument because God made all the different colored people and put them to live in different places. And just because they figured out how to float across the ocean, that wasn't God's problem, but God separated them on purpose. And so now they shouldn't be allowed to marry. That was a actual religious argument in this country. Now, at the end of the day, we learned.
They didn't learn how to float over the ocean. They were sold into slavery and brought over the ocean.
Some of them were.
Just saying.
But at the end of the day, we decided that your right to get married to whoever the fuck you want to get married to at that time, as long as they were of opposite gender, was more important than your right to be a religious bigot.
Right.
The end. Loving v. Virginia, done. That's where we're at. Then we had to go through that whole fucking thing all over again with the gay marriage debate. And this is the exact same arguments.
Yeah.
It was the exact same arguments coming from the religious right. And so I think we have a decent amount of historical documentation here to show that, like, look, when those two are put up against each other in court, sorry, religion.
Right.
And yet here we are again, right? Okay.
Well, and I think the bad part of it too is that a lot of people are now, like, I don't know if there was like a hardware store that got resurfaced in the news.
Yes.
And I think the owner of that hardware store was then also claiming, like, when they were talking about, well, freedom of religion, blah, 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 they said something about precedents, like you said. And he was like, well, it's not just freedom of religion, it's freedom of speech. And I'm just...
Yeah, but it's
but you're floating the same boat.
Again, like, it wasn't that long ago, and this is what I think is astounding, that things come and go so fast and we forget so easily. It wasn't that long ago. We literally had to go tell business owners to take the no Negro signs out of the windows. It wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And so this guy that you're talking about put up a no gays allowed sign in his window. It's a hardware store.
Yeah.
We decided that's not a thing you can do.
Right.
And this doesn't change that, by the way. This ruling does not change that. But that just goes to show you, if you look at the way, you know, the folks on the free religious side are trying to spin it, you know, to be a huge win in their favor. That's a perfect example of that.
Right.
Now, meanwhile, in Arizona appeals court ruled that, just days after, that businesses cannot refuse service to gay people. This was a Phoenix-based calligraphy business, and this went up to Arizona's Court of Appeals, and they decided that no, under the city's anti-discrimination ordinance, you cannot say, "I'm not going to make fancy lettering for your gays." There you go, done. The difference here, apparently, is that Phoenix didn't say, "Oh, those fucking Christians again," because that would have got you under the hostility towards religion thing, and then that would have not been good. But that's an important distinction, because really what was said in this masterpiece decision was that, had Colorado Civil Rights Commission not made any, like, had there been no disparaging remarks, had it treated religion neutrally as it is supposed to, then they probably wouldn't have come down on the side that they came down on. They may have refused to hear the case. They may have come down a different direction. Who knows? Hard to tell. Let's talk about... I got so many stories here, and they're all out of order. Nothing makes sense. Oh, you remember that what was she from California? That cunt that
oh god, that
videotaped the trans woman in the bathroom on her phone.
Twat.
Did you not
not see this? Oh
no.
Jasmina Saavedra was she was running for, I don't know,
freaking followed a trans woman into the women's bathroom
At
with
Denny's.
her phone at Denny's, videoing the whole thing, which is illegal.
Yeah, by the way.
And was telling this woman that she was invading her privacy, but she's the one that's
Yeah.
Okay.
She was running for California's House.
yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. She lost pretty heavily to Nanette Berrigan. Nanette got 66% of the vote. Democratic Aja Brown. I don't know. 19% of the vote. 17%. I can't read my own writing. I was writing fast. And Jasmina, the transphobic cunt, got 10% of the vote.
Was she the only? She was
10.
the only Republican running too, right?
I think so.
The fact,
Yeah,
I mean, I shouldn't even be surprised, but the fact that 10% of people were still willing to vote for somebody after that is, like, and that's the thing I'm talking about. Like, I can't even get myself into that mindset. Where,
Right?
Like, even if
So foreign.
even if I saw a legit dude walking into the girls' bathroom, I don't know that I would follow them and confront them. I would just be like,
Okay, that's a little weird, but right? It would probably catch you off guard, right?
Now, if there's a problem, great. That's when you start, going after shit. But
So we still don't film in the ladies' room.
Right.
No,
y'all.
let people pee. I don't understand. I just can't wrap my head around it.
I think you're like me in a lot of ways. Like, I always try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like, if a dude walked into the ladies' room, very obviously a dude, I would be like, Are you looking for your child?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right?
Did you lose your girlfriend or, or your mom?
Walk
or,
in the wrong door.
And I've done that.
Simple mistake. Sure.
I've done that. I've walked into the men's room for various reasons. Sometimes
I've walked in on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes not on purpose. Sometimes so drunk I don't know where I'm at. I mean,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But this Yasmina chick, I don't think I'd ever give her the benefit of the doubt.
No.
She's one of those people that if I saw her standing next to a puddle and I was in my car,
It just reminds me, did you guys see a couple years ago, there was that thing, it was actually, maybe it was last year or 2 years ago, when the bathroom bill, it was in the news.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this family, I think they were in North Carolina, and they went into Target, and they would just like walked into Target recording unprovoked. And they were like, Target wants trans people to molest your children. And I'm just like,
yep. We did a segment called Vigilante Justice League.
it was amazing.
And it was just clips of these people like going into give me your Bible, going into Target, like walking around. You know how Target has the main aisle that goes around.
Yeah.
So, walking around with their Bible in the air that God does not believe in the transsexuals and you're all going to hell and Target's going to hell for catering to the transsexuals. Oh, they were awful. Awful people. Thanks for the Bible.
Yeah, you got it.
Anytime I can do something mockingly with a Bible in my hand is even better.
it just made me sick too, because they had their, obviously, number one, your bigotry is sick, but those people specifically, they brought their kids in with them, and their kids were like chanting along with them. And I'm like, you know what? Again, if you want to be completely fucking ass backwards, it's your goddamn right. Go right ahead. You know what I mean? But the minute you start dragging in children to a situation like that, you already know they're being indoctrinated at home. That's a given. But you bring them in and you have them walk around Target and start chanting at people when they haven't even, fully developed a brain yet. I just, that's what pisses me off even more as a teacher, because again, I know my students are impressionable, and I toe a very fine line with making sure that I'm spreading a good positive message to them without making it a political one, because I know I can get myself in trouble. So I try to reinforce good behaviors and good ideals and good morals, for lack of a better term. But also force them to have critical thinking skills. Let them think for themselves. Let them choose what they believe is right and just and all of that without telling them what to believe. And it makes me sad, because I do have students who come in and you just know what their beliefs are, and they'll say things out loud, and you're just like, like I have to correct this the teacher way, where we don't say things like that without making it seem like I'm telling them that their beliefs are wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
because you have to respect them, but you also, if you come across somebody who's very obviously mind warped,
right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
That's I don't think I could do that. I think I would be one to like flip the chair around backwards, sit down and be like, so let's talk about where that belief came from, and tell me why you believe such a thing. Let's epistemology this down and figure out what's going on.
I think that's a healthy thing. Like for anything, if you're going to believe something, you should be able to test those beliefs and then have that conversation with anybody. And I think that's.
But also, you don't want your teachers in a role of jumping in and saying, yeah. So that's
I mean that.
Yeah.
It's hard
because there are far too. Do you remember what was that? Speaking of cunts,
Jesus.
What was that lady that she was running a podcast under a pseudonym? It was
I don't remember.
You remember that?
I know what you're talking about.
But she was a
teacher or something, and she was running a white supremacist podcast. Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that, please. We don't want to have to talk about you on our news segment.
That's the awful thing too, is you get teachers who are, trying to do good, and then you get teachers who are trying to correct behaviors in the wrong way. I actually had a student 2 years ago, it was last year, who she came out, and her mom, I don't want to say disowned her, but she was not living with her mom for a while. Speaking to her mom, not living with her. But she told me that she, in one of her classes, they were learning vocabulary, and it was a foreign language class. And they were learning, I don't know why, but they were learning the Spanish word for sin. And her teacher said to her, like homosexuality, and stared at her when she said it. I don't know if I told you about this or not, but
oh man.
And so that's the kind of thing where it's then like,
wow.
How did it get to that point? Like, since it was never your business, first of all, but now you've made it your business, and you're interjecting your personal opinions and trying to make this student feel bad, and it's
yikes. Wow.
Yeah.
Here's another teacher story for you.
Oh God.
No, more teacher stories.
And this is the one story that I got written out before we went on vacation. Stacy Bailey has been an art teacher at Charlotte Anderson Elementary School in Texas for a decade. She's a 2-time recipient of Teacher of the Year, and she was placed on administrative leave last September following complaints from a parent that she was, quote, promoting the homosexual agenda, end quote, by showing her class a photo of her and her now wife, Julie. She also apparently mentioned that the artist Jasper Johns had a partner, Robert Rauschenberg, who is also an artist. Now, she hasn't been fired. In fact, her contract with Mansfield ISD in North Texas was even renewed, but she isn't working, so she filed a lawsuit last month in federal court. She says the district violated the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Constitution by treating her differently than it would have treated a straight teacher. Now, Texas law only prohibits discrimination in employment on the basis of things like sex, race, religion, disability, but it gives no express protection for sexual orientation or gender identity because, well, it's Texas. And again, one of the oldest clips in the show's intro is from an angry episode that I did after the Pulse nightclub shooting. And here we are again. You can get married on Saturday and fired from your job or evicted from your housing on Monday, just for being gay or transgender. Now, you may recall, we talked about the Hively case in Indiana way back early on the show. We kind of did a sort of a deep dive. Back in 2009, someone reported Kimberly Hively kiss her girlfriend goodbye in a car on the Ivy Tech Community College campus, where she had been a teacher for 14 years. The next day, administrators reprimanded her for, quote, sucking face and for being unprofessional. Over the next 4 years, she was denied full-time status despite applying multiple times and was eventually let go in 2014. Now, in that case, an attorney from Lambda Legal cited a 1989 Supreme Court case, Price Waterhouse v. Hopkins, that held Title VII covers discrimination based on not conforming to gender norms. The Equal Opportunity Employment Commission made, I think, the best argument in this case that a situation like this is discrimination on the basis of sex because if that teacher had been a male teacher, he could have kissed his girlfriend goodbye in a car, in a parking lot. Nobody would have given 2 fucks about it. In that case, Hively filed in federal court, in part because Indiana, much like Texas, had no protection for LGBTQ workers under state law. The Seventh Circuit Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in a groundbreaking 8-3 decision that workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation does violate federal civil rights law. And in their opinion, they discussed the concerns of taking the Civil Rights Act of 1964 at its most basic, most literal meaning of the words chosen at the time, as opposed to considering the intent of the CRA 1964 to be more generally about protecting workers from unjust discrimination. Now, I think that's the appropriate way to consider the 1964 CRA, right? Do we have to list out every single class of a people that there could possibly be?
Right.
You can't discriminate against redheads. You can't discriminate. Like how extreme are we going to go here?
Right.
No, let's look at the intent of the Civil Rights Act, which was meant to say you don't get to discriminate against a whole group of people just because they belong to the group. However, the Seventh Circuit only holds jurisdiction over Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So in a Texas case, they have they don't have to give weight to that case at all.
Right.
Lambda Legal, Equality Texas, all of these organizations who are rallying behind Stacey Bailey right now, they've got the right message. And the message is, it is time to amend our laws to provide workplace and other protections to LGBTQ people. Because, again, if you're not going to look at the law in its intent, and you're going to read the words verbatim and we didn't know that in 1964 they didn't say gays, so they must not have wanted to include the gay. Shut up. Right? But if you're not going to do it that way, then fine, we'll do it your way. We'll put in sexual orientation and gender identity and redheads and whatever the fuck else you want us to put in.
Yeah. Well, I have as a teacher, we have a contract, and my thing would be to defer to the contract that we have and say, is there any piece of this contract that says that I'm forbidden from talking about the gender of my partner or the sexual orientation of myself or my partner? You know what I mean? Like, just mentioning the fact, because if I were to walk in, in August when we start back and I'm miraculously engaged and, here is my future male husband.
Yep.
By the way, here's an author or an artist, whoever, who was gay. There would not be a single batted eyelash because, well, it's the straight girl talking about it. So there's no way that she's promoting a homosexual agenda. But the minute it's anybody who's an other, it becomes a massive thing. And I feel fortunate in a sense that working in Orlando, I don't ever anticipate that something like that would happen. But yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where in these, ass backwards counties across the country that I fully agree. I mean, I obviously with the administration we have now, I don't foresee it happening, but I really wish we could get a comprehensive equal rights amendment passed with fully spelled out legislation on anti-discrimination policies, because I feel like until that actually happens, there are far too many people in this country who are going to take advantage of the fact that it's not spelled out. And
we see it every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk about one every week.
Yeah.
I think when you look at cases like this, I always, like, my mind just instantly goes to, and instinctively to, okay, let's replace gay, right? Change out the words. Let's change gay for interracial. Okay, now you have a teacher who showed a picture, and let's say they're opposite sex. She shows a picture of her and her husband, and she's white and he's black. Is that okay? Because why wouldn't it be?
Right.
Because we've decided that.
Right. We
And-
spelled it out.
And how is this any different? It's not.
No.
It's really not. Oh, we're coming up on an hour here.
Oh, wow.
Should we take a break? I've got two more stories left and a thing. Yeah. Let's take a break. And then we'll come back. I don't even have this loaded up and ready to go. Okay. You want to sing the Mike and Kyle Take a Break song? Because I don't have the theme music loaded up. No?
No.
Okay.
I don't know that I would do it justice.
I should have queued up
Do you want to see some Rent?
the song from Hamilton. There's a song in Hamilton where
I
they're like,
haven't
take
seen
a
it.
break.
Oh.
The end. Okay.
Hopefully I'll see Hamilton in January.
What else was it we wanted to go see?
All
Fiddler
of them.
on the Roof.
Oh, yeah. I do want to go see Fiddler on the Roof when it comes out.
But our son's art school gets tickets for the January shows every year at a special rate. So I'm hoping that our show this next coming year is Hamilton.
Hamilton always does like educational collaborations. So maybe since he goes to the art school, it'll happen. Who knows?
That would be cool. Hey, thanks for killing enough time for me to put the music in.
You got
it.
All right. We'll come back, and I want to talk about John Lasseter.
Oh,
Who
boy.
has made some news lately. There's a really racist fucking guy in South Carolina we need to talk about. And we'll play Florida Man. Yay! All right. We'll do that when we come back. This is Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by our patrons. We love our patrons.
If you're not a Sarah Talk patron, you're missing out.
We should do a parody show for bathroom bills at the dog park. Like dogs fighting over which dog gets to pee where.
Or the owners. I feel uncomfortable that my dog has to shit on the transgendered lawn. Fuck that.
Our Patreon fans get access to special patrons-only content, like this nearly 2-hour-long bonus episode where we break down Texas Senate Bill 6, the bathroom bill, with our special guest, Jake Vahaba.
My dog hunches over and takes a big runny shit. It's gonna do it with other straight shit dogs. Which is the argument I hear.
Yes, exactly what
my dog knows what it is. And it may fuck other men dogs sometimes, and pillows and shit, and my kid. But I'm not having my dog shit next to other transgendered hump dogs.
Not only do our patrons get access to all previous patron-only specials for less than the price of a tall whatever Starbucks tries to pass off as a coffee, you'll get an ad-free version of the show, which often includes outtakes and extended segments. And of course, we'll give you a special shout-out on the show. Become a patron now for as little as $1 per episode. Go to patreon.com/SarahTalk today. That's patreon.com/SarahTalk.
Are you ready for your first card? As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warm in my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go onto Patreon and subscribe because there is nothing better than giving when receiving. What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
I was feeling so alone.
I'm glad I asked for help. Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386.
Want to join the conversation or tell Sarah she's wrong? Email producer@SarahTalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. Now, more Sarah Talk.
Welcome back to Sarah Talk. Don't call, you'll get the voicemail. Well, actually, you can call. Leave a voicemail.
Message.
Yeah, we'd love to. People need to do that more often. That'd be great. I would love to play some voicemails on the show.
We could have a whole new segment if people would just call regularly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was some radio program that did that. They played like angry complaint voicemails or something and bleep the names out. I don't remember what it was.
We had back home. We had the rejection hotline, and you could give them
Jacksonville too.
phone number if you were out on the town over the weekend and got losers trying to pick you up.
Oh yeah,
and then they would play back the voicemails that these losers would leave.
God.
Hey Mark, welcome to the Saturday Night House Party thing that we do here.
Party.
Thanks for tuning in. Russell says, thank you, Sarah, for saying redheads and not using the G word. And that's because Russell is a ginger. And he didn't want me to say the word ginger because he's a ginger. And apparently only a ginger can call another ginger. But I'm calling you a ginger. Ginger. So don't think that comment was missed on me. All right.
What do you got?
Moving on.
Moving on.
Let's talk about this South Carolina story. A restaurant manager in South Carolina had apparently been beating a black employee for years.
Whoa.
And was forcing him to work without pay.
I did see this. Ugh.
How
did I miss this? I try not to watch the news.
I don't know.
It's funny because I stopped watching cable news, but I'm on Twitter all the time.
So
and I
see
feel
it
like
anyway.
I just see I see the worst of the worst because I'm on Twitter.
Twitter is the worst of the worst.
It is.
I resisted Twitter for a very long time.
Yeah.
Twitter's a twat.
And don't go changing the show title now.
No, I really
We've
like
already
that.
made up our
Dan,
mind.
Dan, I fixed the sign for you. The show title is now on the sign, just in case you didn't notice it already.
Okay, so let's see. This comes from CNN. This is one of those ones that I wrote the headline down. I don't really know about. For years, John Christopher Smith suffered in silence as his manager at a South Carolina restaurant physically abused him and forced him to work over 100 hours a week without pay.
God. Wow.
Bobby Edwards, 53, is the business operant here. He used violence, threats of intimidation on the African American employee who worked at the eatery in Conway. It said Edwards hurled racial epithets at him, beat him with a belt, and hit him with pots and pans. Oh, hang on.
And this guy stuck around for what? It's not like he was getting paid.
It's 2018. Still 2018. Just
Yeah,
had to check.
I could check the calendar. Yeah,
Jesus.
I don't.
These incidents apparently happened between 2009 and 2014. But here's the thing, like, so that was an immediate reaction that I had too, right?
Yeah,
how many times did we hear people bitch about working at Disney? And my response was always,
Hey.
Mickey ain't got a gun to your head.
Right.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that easy. And in this case, authorities said that he had intellectual disabilities and was afraid of losing his job.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And then think about that in the same way that, like, what we say to battered spouses.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
did you stay?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
You're right.
There are reasons.
It literally goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how it's like we would love to make all these judgment calls for people, but
Yes.
unless we're there, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to what we were saying about how do I can't put myself in that mindset.
No.
Like where do they fucking come from?
Yep.
That they think that treating people like this is okay. Like it's like you said, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like,
Right.
was he abused as a child? Like, what is your excuse? Like, what?
Yeah.
Are you just a piece of shit? Like, how did you get? But I would be curious to
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get to this point in your life where this is how you treat someone,
Yeah.
especially someone with intellectual disabilities?
Here's the background. Smith said he started bussing tables and washing dishes at the restaurant when he was 12.
Wow.
But the alleged incident started when Edwards took over as manager. In October 2014, a frequent customer noticed the scars on his body when he was putting food down and called authorities, who removed Smith from the restaurant. Well, good for you, whoever nameless person you are. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well done, you.
I always feel like my entire life is an episode of that What Would You Do TV show. Like, I overanalyze my decisions on a daily basis. Like,
well, you guys,
should I have
you're
done
taking
something
care of
different?
kids,
Yeah.
too. Like, that's the whole added pressure.
Well, and I just, even out in public, like, you know, it's like, because you run into situations all the time where it's like, you tell yourself, like, oh, well, if that happened, I would have stepped in and I would have done this.
Yeah.
And I had a situation at a restaurant where I overheard these people talking, and I could feel my skin boiling because I was so mad, but I literally had like a panic attack and I couldn't speak. And I thought if I turned to them and said something, I was going to start like physically hitting them because I was so mad, because they were making fun of the person I was with, who happened to be gay, and making fun of his mannerisms and the way he was talking, and I was just like, you know, and I beat the shit out of myself up over it later. I was like, I can't believe I didn't. And I was even telling him about it. And I'm like, I'm a terrible friend. Like, I can't believe I didn't say anything. But it's like, it goes back to like,
in the moment,
yeah. Sometimes it's just impossible to even figure the situation out. And so anytime I hear of people like that who, you know, who just jumped in, I applaud them, and I try to be them, because it's like, you never know, you never know how much of a difference you made in that person's life by being able to step in. So kudos to them.
This guy, Edwards, faces up to 20 years in prison when
Not
he's
enough.
sentenced.
Wow.
A $250,000 maximum fine and mandatory restitution to the victim. It's unclear when he will be sentenced.
Well, at least we know he won't be getting that judge out in California. Got recalled.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Good news on that, too.
Yeah, really.
In fact, let me sidetrack into California for a moment.
California's got a lot going on this week.
Where the hell is it?
Because you said that the bathroom video recorder.
Yeah,
she was in
trounced.
California. Right? God.
Yep.
What's going on in California?
A while back, Russell says, ooh, are we going to talk about the California primaries of this last week tonight? The answer to that is no, because I didn't really study up on it. But also, well done you, Russell, for becoming such a little political. What's the word?
Political junkie.
Yeah,
A
political
junkie?
junkie.
Yeah.
That's not the word I was looking
No.
for, but it'll do.
Well,
He's paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's commendable. I wish more people would pay attention, look around. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's he's looking at things in California, and he's not in California.
Yep.
Some people be like, "That's not my state. I don't care."
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
But that
Yes.
if
But-
more people would pay attention to what's going on all over, that we'd
For
be
the
more
same
interested.
reason, for the same reasons why why I seek out guests who are not just Floridian running
Right.
candidates or
Yeah.
whatever. Tell me about your run in California. Tell me how that went, because whatever you did right, we need to take that, bottle it, and sell it to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So no, sorry, Russell, I don't have any conversation about
bud.
the California primary.
But we're glad you know about it. You should come on the show and talk about it. Call for
Except the phone's not set up right now.
he can't call. He's at work.
Okay, so the last story, unless there's something I've completely missed in the past week, which is possible because I was on a beach.
Oh, the beach.
John Lasseter will be leaving Disney at the end of the year.
Wait, this can't be the last one. You said there was a Florida man.
Oh, there is. This is the last real news. The actual
Florida
news.
man is just for fun.
That's just for fun.
Pause that. I don't want to hear about John Lasseter.
Okay.
Russell says, "Thank you, Sarah, for making me a better person and helping me to be able to take a look at the bigger picture."
Well, good. I'm glad somebody's gotten something out of this that we do.
Okay.
And of course, while we'd love you to be bleeding heart liberals along with us, as long as you're thinking about the problems and asking yourself questions and seeking out information, that's really all we can ask for. Again, because I grew up in a family where my parents were very apathetic when it came to politics. I can't remember them voting. I take our son to vote with me because I want him to get it. I want him to understand. That it's an important thing.
All right, back to Lasseter.
Okay, so John Lasseter, and I want to read from the Variety article because the way they wrote it, I thought was very interesting. So John Lasseter is in the middle of another Me Too casualty moment where he has been called out for sexual harassment, and I think some of these guys, like Harvey Weinstein, whatever, who cares? Who cares about Harvey Weinstein, right? But then there are some people who you see and who you're like, oh, I really liked that guy.
Yeah.
Now I have some cognitive dissonance in my brain about how do I feel about this.
Yeah.
And you still got to come out on the same side. You still got to find the same way. Like, okay, well, turns out a guy that I liked is a fucking sleazebag and deserves to go.
And it happens.
And that's hard for me to process.
All the time.
Sure, I get that, but you got to get there. So Lasseter was the chief creative officer at Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. He has been on a sabbatical since November 21st when he sent a memo to staff apologizing for unwanted hugs. Female employees told Variety at the time that Lasseter had a reputation for touching women inappropriately in the office, including rubbing their legs and kissing them on the lips.
No.
Sir, that is not unwanted hugs.
No. That's one that, I mean, it's like you said, they're all disgusting and disappointing. But I think Kevin Spacey was the worst one for me to deal with, because I shouldn't even say deal with, that's stupid, but process because I've loved basically everything he's done. You know what I mean? And in the same way that like Bill Cosby for a lot of people, like America's Dad.
Yeah.
And, I used to watch the reruns of the Cosby Show like it was nobody's business. And now I'm just like that show taught me so much and I loved it, but now I'm disgusted at the mention of that name. And for me, it's like, you know, I used to work for Disney. I grew up on Disney. I still love Disney.
Pixar revived Disney's animation.
Pixar specifically. Some of the Pixar films are some of my favorite, not just favorite Disney movies, but favorite movies of all time. And I've always admired what John Lasseter did with Pixar and that studio. And so it's like, I just have a feeling like every time I go to watch, like I hope it won't ruin it for me.
Somehow you have to figure out how to make your brain go to separate the two. Like, this is a film that was made by, I don't know, how many people work on a fucking film? 600 people? These 600 people made this film. This guy made the most money off of it. And but you know what I mean? Like, but
I think
I have to separate the two.
I think the good thing is with animation, when you're seeing an animation, you're not
watching
seeing
Bill Cosby on the couch in a sweater.
Exactly. I think there will be a disconnect where you will be able to kind of put that part of it away. You know, I mean, if it was like one of the main characters of the Toy Story, if it was like Tom Hanks, I would never be able to.
Don't even put that into mention. God.
No, did you see the thing that came out that was about like Tom Hanks, but it was like all the good things he's ever done, but it was like written as a satirical. Like anyway, but like, you know, if it had been like Buzz Lightyear or Woody, that would have ruined those movies, you know. But I think I don't know. I think on the animation front, it's a little bit of a different.
Well, we've never had to see John. I'm thinking of Andrew Stanton. He's another Pixar person, but we've never seen John Lasseter's face in a Pixar movie. So I think that in itself is, thank God for that. But no, it's so, I don't know. It's just disappointing. And again, it comes from my naivete of expecting the best out of people, and then they just do the absolute worst. And it's like, you know, it's becoming more and more difficult to look up to people in a sense, or to trust that people are good people, because there's just too many people who you go your whole life expecting that they're a certain type of way, and then they're not.
Find out the man behind the curtain is
Well, and also like, and we've said this before, some of this for you will be a repeat, but the Me Too movement in general has been, it's far too late, and it's never enough, but it has been transformative. It really has. Like, you're on notice now. I can say, well, this is what happened to me, and finally, maybe I'll be taken seriously. If the man was famous enough. And that's a thing that needs to be addressed too. Right? Because you have plenty of sexual assault and domestic violence and all of these other problems that happen. And if there's not a hot, bright par can light shining down on it, nobody notices, nobody sees it, and nobody cares. And so hopefully there's got to be a way to take, you know, this movement out of the realm of popular people, right? And make it affect the everyday lives of everyday people.
Agreed.
Okay. Florida Man?
Florida Man.
You follow the Florida Man Twitter account?
I do. There's a couple of websites that I follow. Becca sends me stories. And specifically, Becca doesn't read them. She sends me headlines. And then I read the story and decide. And some of them, I got to be honest, guys, like, we try to laugh and have a good time, and we talk about the serious things, and then we try to laugh and giggle and be stupid. And sometimes these stories come out, and I'm just like, oh my god, I feel so bad for these people. I can't laugh about this. No, that's a really serious thing. Like, they need help. I can't laugh about that. But then sometimes I put that away.
Yeah.
And
so are we laughing or are we
and
crying?
I do this. Oh no, we're not gonna cry.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have all my cues lined up here.
Oh, you are fired. This is what you see. Give her a week off. And
see, this is what happens.
Apart.
Don't become a teacher. Then you get 2 months off, and then your brain just completely shuts down.
Oh my god,
that's a lie. I still think about school all summer. It doesn't happen, but no, yeah. So I tell people all the time, summer break is a blessing and a curse because it's almost too long.
I hear that.
Okay, so we'll wrap up the show tonight with everyone's favorite segment. The best stories start with...
I went on vacation last week. Oh, no, a Florida man.
A Florida man caught masturbating at a bus stop in Clearwater told police he was Captain Kirk.
Oh. Why Captain Kirk? That's my... I just want to ask these people questions. Like, I don't necessarily need to laugh or cringe. I mean, I will laugh, but I just want to... like, there needs to be... Maybe we can do a spinoff. A Florida Man webcast or podcast where we find these people behind bars,
interview them,
and go interview them.
Oh my god! See, is this one I sent?
Yeah.
I think I sent it because it was Clearwater, and that's where we were on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh god!
Clearwater police responded to the bus stop around 11:20 a.m. to find the man sitting on a bench, touching himself under his shorts. They noted in the arrest report that it was obvious the man was masturbating. When officers asked what he was doing, he said, "I'm scratching myself." They arrested him for disorderly conduct and asked him to identify himself. The arrest report states the man told police his name was James Tiberius Kirk. Yes, Captain James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise.
Oh, no.
Police discovered his real name is James Bundrick, and now the 56-year-old man...
He was a third of the way there.
Yeah, right. Well, close. And now the 56-year-old man is also facing a charge of providing a false name or identity to law enforcement.
Oh. I'm really glad they tacked that on there.
Yeah, right? Oh, my gosh. I wonder, I want to talk to the cops in this situation and ask them, so did you know the name was bogus when he gave it to you, or...
Right?
Because that will tell me a whole lot about the character of the...
Yeah.
All right, the second story tonight.
Oh, there are two. Good. I was worried you only had one.
No, this is great. And this is another one that I kind of feel sorry for, but at the same time, a Florida woman was arrested on drug charges last week, but it's her name that's getting media attention. Police responded to an anonymous call that led them to a car parked in a lot on South Dixie Highway. They searched the vehicle and found drug paraphernalia and a substance that field tested positive. Arrest records show that 40-year-old Crystal Methvin of St. Augustine was arrested for possession of, you guessed it, crystal meth. So I want to go to the jail cell and say, was your name Crystal Methvin at birth, or did you change that when you got hooked on the crystal meth? How'd the name happen? I'd love to know this. I have to know.
She was born an addict, and her mom was an addict, and her mom named her, and I don't know.
This is why you don't give your kids stupid names, because you're just setting them up for crystal meth addictions.
I'm gonna name my next child Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
Oh, God. All right.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, which one do I want to pick?
Your choices tonight. James Touching Myself Kirk. And you can't come up with a better title than Crystal Methvin.
Wow.
James T. Kirk or Crystal Methvin.
I gotta go with Crystal Methvin.
Lauren.
But only because that was her actual name.
Okay. Had this guy's name actually been James T. Kirk, you would have picked him?
I probably would have thought about it.
I do like Star Trek. Man. I have no idea. I'm just to play the other side. I'm gonna say James T. Kirk.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
If I remember, I will put it in the podcast group
Poll
on Facebook, the Sarah Talk Podcast listeners group. If I remember to do it, I don't know. I've had a lot to drink tonight.
Victoria says Kirk.
All right. Surprised Russell hasn't weighed in. He must be cooking something.
He must be.
Well, because of my shitty internet, I missed the first story. Oh, Russell. Shame him. Shame. All right, well, you'll just have to decide in the Facebook podcast listeners group.
Dan says, my father knew a woman named Crystal Lear, and yes, her middle name was Shonda.
Oh, no. No. Oh, that's great.
Oh,
No.
God. Wow.
Hey, how about a bonus story tonight? Because I
Sure.
forgot to read it.
You got a boner story? I thought that was a James Kirk.
You're hilarious.
Oh, okay.
No, a bonus story. This comes from Georgia. This is from the Friendly Atheist. Mariah Parker. This actually dropped onto my feed today, earlier today.
Oh yeah, this one. Oh, this is amazing.
Mariah Parker was recently elected to the Athens-Clarke County Commission in Georgia. It was a nail-biter of a race, too, with the 26-year-old Parker winning by just 13 votes.
Wow.
When she was sworn in this week, she didn't bother taking her oath on the Bible, which, by the way, is a choice. You don't have to. You can say, I would choose a different book, or I would rather just, what's it called? Damn it. Swear I would rather give an affirmation. You can do that, too. With her right hand clenched in a fist in the air, you got to see this picture, she placed her left hand on a copy of The Autobiography of Malcolm X, held by her mother. Doesn't get more badass than that.
Yeah.
At least during a county commissioner's oath of
That's a
office.
beautiful picture, too.
Fuck yes.
Got her hair all
got
out.
her natural hair.
Yeah. Amazing.
So good. So good. Maybe I'll, if I remember. A lot of this hinges on me remembering things.
Don't
I'll put a
hold
link.
your breath, people. She can't remember shit.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes too, and you can check that out. That's it. That's all I got for this week. That was not so bad for not having any prep time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just not plan for the show every week.
No.
I don't.
Okay. No, I've had to hear you bitching all the last 3 days about how you don't have anything prepped for the show.
And I don't have any time to prep.
I know. Okay. It's okay. We'll go back to normal after next week.
Yes.
Because next week, do we have a canned show or we're just no show?
I don't know.
What's the deal?
I don't know. No. Next week we'll be at Polk Pride at Lakeland. So swing on down to Munn Park. We'll be there from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All day Saturday. So odds are, hopefully we'll do like we did last year and we'll get some people to come up to we're going to pack half the studio up and take it out there with us so that we can do some recording. Got my eye on a mobile recorder that I don't have to pack the studio up for, but that's coming down the road.
Maybe by next year.
So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to just talk to some people who are walking around and get, find out some interesting stories about them. And
I think Russell's coming out. I've invited
Russell's coming out.
Russell's coming out. No, I didn't mean it that way. Russell's coming with us, the Polk Pride.
Yes.
I think I've invited a few other people, but hey, the more the merrier. Come see us.
Absolutely. Come on. I will shit a brick if somebody comes out and says, "Hey, I listened to your show." I won't believe you. Actually, you'll have to pull your phone up and show her. Show me on the app where you live. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Shit a brick. Hey, somebody just come out just so I can see this because it'll be hilarious.
Okay. Then the following week, will be Pride 48. We're going to be broadcasting at our normal showtime at 8 p.m. on Saturday.
Have you figured out how we're going to do that? Or
no.
We got to do some...
Yeah, so we'll be streaming on Pride 48's streaming server.
So we won't be on Facebook.
So I don't know if I can figure out how to... If I can figure out how to multicast, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And that way we can, have our normal crew in here. But go check out Pride 48. It's pride48.com. They are a whole host of shows, and they're all a lot of fun. They make fun of us for being like the most well-produced show because I paid someone to make an intro for me, like to record the words of the intro.
Dan says, the week after next is Pride 48 live stream. It will be my 1-year anniversary of listening to Sarah Talk podcast. Okay, Dan, now I'm going to have to make you an anniversary present.
There you go. There you go.
I don't know what it'll be, but I'm going to do something special for you.
It could be a coaster.
That's not me. I didn't make that.
No, she does like clay stuff.
Yeah, I do clay stuff.
Clay
That's
stuff.
cool. I'll have to think of something for Dan.
Yes. And proof positive that doing the thing on Pride 48 is totally worth it. Again, like they're a bunch of great shows. They make fun of us for being kind of the most well-produced show.
I love listening to them talk about us because it's like it makes me feel like we're doing something right, because we come in here sometimes and we're like, oh my god.
Well, last year was so funny too, and you listen to Adam tell the story of how like the feed went down right before our time slot, and so the show before us was kind of like fledgling along trying to get the stream working again, and it was just kind of a hot mess, and then like the clouds parted right at our slot time and our theme hit, and it was perfect from then on out. It was great. But you listen to him tell the story and it's pretty funny. Yeah. But again, like they are, it's 48 hours of podcasts doing this thing that we do, and go out and support these shows because if you appreciate queer voices being lifted up, this is a place that does it.
Yep.
And I think that's absolutely awesome. I'm still hopeful on like if we can figure out a way to get on their regular calendar, if the time slots work out, and I think we've had problems with trying to figure that out in the past, but like when all those stars line up, I would love to do this thing every week on Pride 48. That'd be great. So pride48.com, check that out. Again, we do have a special interview lined up for you, so I have some reading to do to prepare for that.
And then after that, we're going to go back to our normal thing.
I hope. Can we do normal?
I don't know that we can. I need another vacation.
Normal's overrated.
But no, I mean, hey.
Lauren, thanks for coming in, watching the kids, and
of course,
getting our tickets lined up.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
Hanging out and doing this thing with us. You're welcome anytime.
I know.
Come on out. You're
so close.
You're not that far away. Live from all the way down the street.
Yeah.
It's Lauren. We always want to thank our fantastic patrons over at patreon.com/SarahTalk that pay for all the things that we do. They are literally paying for our booth next week at Polk Pride. So thank you, patrons, for doing that. You can check that out at patreon.com/SarahTalk for your patronage. You get, we do some extended segments and scenes on the show, and some bloopers at the end from time to time. And we also do, every once in a while, we do a patron-only episode. Now, the next one of those, I think we need to get, 4 or 5 more patrons to get to the next level where we've promised to do
somewhere in there,
another full show. For the full show, Becca and I have reluctantly agreed to argue a topic of your choice. Patrons, pick a topic, and we will take sides.
We have agreed to disagree with each other.
Yes, whether we agree with that side or not, and we'll just, we'll try to argue with each other.
And I have a feeling I'm going to get the shaft here.
Why? We'll flip a coin.
Because of the way you are.
No.
I know you. I think
this is an exercise I do with my students, actually. I tell them like what the topic is going to be.
Debate.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, pick a side. And of course, it's a topic. They all go to one side because it's easy to agree or disagree. And then I just start randomly picking some of them. And I was like, you're on this side now. And they're like, what?
Right? I had a teacher that made me debate the wrong side of recycling.
But aren't you glad? Because now you can debate Sarah on the wrong side of something else.
I had to convince the class that recycling was a waste of time. How the fuck do you do that?
Oh.
Yeah, that's tough.
Oh. Did you see Victoria?
I did, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome,
please.
Victoria.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I tried to write.
Record some stuff
but
for
it auto-corrected me.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry to hear
My
that.
phone doesn't like when I say yes either. It's just like, yes, exclamation point.
You
I'm
have
like,
to train it.
Damn it.
You have to teach, I had to teach my phone that I don't use the word duck ever.
What are you ducking mean?
Yeah, my phone still does a lot of ducking, and I've had it since November. I just don't understand.
It's the worst. Okay, head over to SarahTalk.com. Get all the things Sarah Talk. We have our bookstore up now. You can check out the books that folks that we've interviewed on the show recently, and quick links to go purchase said books. And if you do that through our links, that helps support the show. It kicks us another extra buck here and there. Print out a flat Jesus. We have got to remember to take that with us this time.
Yeah.
If you listen to the show and you're coming to Lakeland to Polk Pride, you piece of shit, then print out a flat Jesus. We'd love to take pictures with your flat Jesus, and don't forget, like John did.
I know. Well, we all kind of forgot.
We all.
You know
did.
what I really want to do? I want to go to like an atheist convention. And take like a life-size flat Jesus.
Okay. Google life-size stand-ups. Okay.
Wouldn't that be
mission.
so cool?
Oh, it's done and done. Okay.
And then he could just hang out in the studio with us all the time.
That's perfect. Oh, that's great. And I can put my trans cape on him.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, it's done.
All right.
Okay, join the Facebook discussion group if you haven't already. You're missing out. That's where all the fun conversation happens. And we hope to see some of you Saturday at Polk Pride.
Please come see us.
Lakeland, Florida. Come on out. Munn Park. Woohoo!
We'll be next to the dog hospital again.
God. Hopefully it's not going to be loud. All right. We'll have some kind of show next week. No idea what it'll be, but we'll see you then.
Surprise show.
This has been Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@SarahTalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, Facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.